welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast with your host, Sana. Now, today's episode is all about transformation, not just the kind you dream about, but the kind you actually achieve. If you have ever wondered how to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be, this conversation is for you. And joining us is the incredible Larry Easto, a man with over 4 decades of experience in guiding people to unlock their potential. Whether as a lawyer, consultant, or coach, Larry's approach is rooted in empowerment. Not telling you what to do, but helping you discover the tools and strategies to create your own solutions. Now, with over 30 books, ebooks, and courses to his name, Larry has mastered the art of turning knowledge into action. So, grab your notebook, your journal, your favorite beverage, and settle in because today we are diving into the steps, mindset shifts, and strategies that can take you from dreaming about change to living it. So let's begin. Larry, welcome to the show, and it is an absolute honor to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's a joy for me to be here as well. It's always fun to talk about things like mindfulness and personal growth and becoming the better you. It really excites me to even think about it and talk about it even better. So it's good to be here.
Definitely. Great, Larry. So your transformation philosophy, it's all about experiential learning. So, can you break that down for us? What exactly does that mean? And how does learning from experience differ from more traditional approaches?
Okay, it's a good question. Many people, I mean, it's we hear this a lot. Experience is the best teacher. Learning from experience. But the thing is, nobody really tells us or helps us learn from experience. I mean, we have these experiences, so how do we go about learning from them? A number of years ago, probably, I've lost track, probably about 20 years ago, I took a course in adult education, and that introduced me to the concept of experiential learning. It's a formal process, not a ad hoc kind of a thing. And it was, in some respects, it was a mind opener. I was able to learn so much from so many of the things I had done and was doing, not just at that period in time, but from the beginning of my awareness of my career and who I am. It's based on a process. It's just a case of really being mindful, really paying attention to what happens when there's a transformation, when there's a change. Really pay attention to what happened, and then reflect on, well, what happened? What was this all about? Why was this going on? And from there, it's a case of drawing conclusions. And once we have the conclusions, we can say, okay, so this is what happened when I did that. If I do it next time, I can expect this result. But if I change it, I can change the result. So it's a very conscious, focused process of really thinking through our experiences and deliberately trying to pull out a lesson and figure out a way to apply it to our life. So it's a learned practice. But I found that once I've learned it, it's just become part of where I am. And I'm seeing lessons in experiences that aren't even mine. I mean, I see something happen on the street and I could pull out a lesson there, but it's none of my business to go in and tell them what they should be doing. But it just becomes part of when it's practice. It becomes a habit, part of who you are, and it's a joy. It's just a joy.
True. I agree with you. Many people set goals, but they fail to follow through. It has happened with me numerous times. So, uh, what are some common pitfalls, and how do you advise we can avoid them?
Oh, that's another good question. It's really easy I shouldn't say it's easy because a lot of people can't set goals, but it's setting goals is kind of like daydreaming, kind of what do I want to be when I grow up kind of a thing. Unfortunately, we many of us get involved with trying to set goals without really having a good understanding of our strengths. Uh, I remember when I was introduced to the law of attraction many years ago. And the thing was that the person was presenting said, all you have to do is think about what you want to do and then you'll get it. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'd like to be a professional hockey player, but I haven't played hockey in 20 years. And somehow the idea of my becoming a professional hockey player, not having played in 20 years, just didn't make sense. And then later on, I started to realize, well, the dream is, the goals are important, the vision's important, but it's also really important to take inspired action, not just any action. You can't just wish for something and sit back and expect it to happen. It's required to you're it's required to take an inspired action. And one of my favorite examples of inspired action was a story my father used to tell. He would talk about two girls running to school, and they're playing and on the way to school, and they heard the school bell ringing. And one girl says to the other girl, "Oh, well, let's stop and pray that we won't be late." And the other one says, "No, let's pray while we're running." And that's inspired action. Yeah, praying may have been one action, but praying while running is an inspired action. So we have to do something, but it's more than just a routine. It's something out of the ordinary. It's pulling out our best stuff, our best strengths, our best attributes, and building on those rather than coasting on what's happened in the past.
Hmm. Now, here one question comes to my mind, and this word has been trending lately so much. Manifestation. It's often described as aligning thoughts, emotions, and actions to create outcomes we often desire or visualize. So, how do you see the concept of manifestation fitting into the journey of personal transformation? You know, uh,
Well, I've struggled with that a lot too. It somehow it didn't make sense to me. But along the way, I learned the concept that everything is energy, and this was Albert Einstein talked
yep.
about everything is energy. And break it down. And what that means is that if we want to manifest something, we have to be in a positive mindset. If we want to be happy, we have to start out being happy. If we're unhappy and bitchy and complaining, we're in a negative mindset. So it's a case of you get back what you give out. And if you're a positive, healthy mindset, you will attract positive, healthy mind energy. The flip side is, the other side of the coin is that someone is always complaining and always miserable and always unhappy. They're not going to attract the things they want. And so the thing to do is to figure out what makes us happy. Take music, for example. I love music, and I have music on when I'm playing, when I'm working all the time. If I want to be really inspired, I'll play some lively jazz, which really energizes me.
Right.
And periodically, I'm switching stations or hear something that's really heavy, 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 gloomy music. And then I stop. I just can't work. It just drains me down. So it's a case of figuring out what makes us happy and try to be that way as much as possible. Okay, yeah, you can't go from miserable to happy in one loop, one step, but it's possible to do small, inspired actions to move up the level. So that as we move further up I guess the uh, level of happiness or the level of positive energy, the more we can attract. And it comes back to, we attract what we give out. And if somebody is always giving out frowns and scowls and complaints and problems, that's what they're going to get back. The flip side is, the other side is when we're giving out smiles, we get things back. Here's another example. I was at a coffee shop, I guess a couple of weeks ago, and somebody was sitting at a table working on origami, folding paper, little birds like that.
Yeah.
And I smiled at him, and he smiled at me, and that was it. And I had my tea, and then just as I was leaving, I went over and said, "You're doing a nice job there." And he said, "Well, thank you. I'm making them as Christmas presents." And then he paused, and he gave me an origami bird. I wasn't looking for one, but because I was pleasant and happy and positive to him, he responded to me in kind. So I now have this little yellow origami bird sitting on my desk to remind me that we give back what we give out. If I'd been scowly and frowny at him, was he going to give me hand me the little bird as a gift? No way. So we keep forgetting that we we expect to be grumpy, and somebody figure out, okay, you're grumpy. If I do this for you, you'll be okay. No, it's not somebody else's responsibility to make you ungrumpy. That's us. That's us. We are responsible for our own well-being.
True, true. Beautiful, beautiful. That's a beautiful example you gave to all of us. Also, can you help us with the first step we should take, or someone should take when they are feeling stuck but aren't sure how to move forward toward their goals? They're kind of in a having a brain fog. They're not able to
Okay. That's, yeah, I can only talk for myself. And I've found that the first thing to do is to stop. It's been said, if you dug yourself into a hole, stop digging.
Mhm.
Um, so I've found I stop, and if I'm anywhere near nature, I'll somehow try to connect with nature. I'm fortunate that there's a lot of trees outside my backyard, so I can just look at the trees and be energized. But I guess the simplest thing is to take 10 deep breaths, and that will physiologically calm down. And then just try to instead of worrying about the problem, just focus on something that gives pleasure. Another example, when I was finishing law school, I'd failed an exam in my last year of law school, and I was devastated because I had plans for the summer and all sorts of things I wanted to do, and I was absolutely devastated. So I went for a drive, and I wound up beside a river. And just as I was standing by the side of the river, two of the most beautiful swans I had ever seen came swimming by. And they looked at me, and almost as if they said, "Larry, get over it." And I realized, there is so much beauty in the world. Why am I beating myself up? Why don't I be happy about those swans rather than be miserable about the exam? Sure, okay, the swans will disappear, but so will the exam. So I kind of got myself together and studied for the exam. I was training as a student at the time, and an area came up an issue came up in the area that was writing my sub on it. And the clients weren't sure they wanted a student working on their work. And my supervisor says, "Oh, don't worry about Larry. He's taking a special course in this." So yes, but they didn't say he's writing a SEP. He said he's taking a special course in it. So it's all how it was framed. And from failing the planning exam in law school, I went on to eventually be chairman of a planning board, and a lot of my law practice was based on planning projects. So, it just because something happens doesn't mean that's the way it's going to be forever. And it's a case of looking for something positive, looking for some space, listening to some fine music, looking at some beautiful art, having something nice to eat. Just focus on something good rather than allow yourself to be dragged down by something bad.
True, true. Beautiful, beautiful. That's a great, great, another story you shared with us. Also, Larry, you have authored over 30 books and courses. That's really, really, inspiring. What are
Thank you.
the most common, most important lessons you have shared in your work that can help people transform their lives?
I think it starts with really understanding who they are,
Mhm.
or who we are. We live in a world that there are so many experts telling us what to do. You should do this, you should do that, you should do the other thing. Um, if you do things my way, you too will be successful. It would be nice. It would be nice if there was such a thing that we could get a one size fits all solution to program and do get the results we want. But realistically, we're all different. We're all dramatically different. What works for me might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for somebody else. So we have to figure out who we are. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are we really good at? Or why are we on this earth? What's our purpose? What's our passion? So it takes a lot of serious thinking, serious consideration, some deep thought. But there's no easy way. There's no easy way of making it happen. And I think that's what happens, that we find ourselves being attracted to something that's easy, thinking, okay, I can do that without any effort at all. Well, life's not like that. We have to put some effort into getting what we want. So yeah, so often when I was when be talking to clients, they were trying to live by their parents' expectations for them, or
Yeah.
again, when I was a lawyer, people had expectations of what lawyers should do and all that kind of thing, and it didn't fit for me. So I had to figure out what worked for me and go from there. And that's where it starts. A good personal examination, personal personal self-study to figure out who we're all about. What are you passionate about? What do you love doing? What are you really good at? Those kinds of issues.
So, makes sense. So, Larry, your approach it relies heavily on experiential learning. But is there a risk that individuals might misinterpret or misapply lessons from their experiences? How do you ensure you're learning the right lessons?
Well, this is where we need network. This is where we need family and friends
Yeah.
to help keep us on track. Um, Very often, in terms of transformation, an accountability partner is good. Someone to discuss the issues with, and say, I'm going to get this done by next Friday. Talk on Friday was not done. It's why not? Well, okay. Instead of blaming yourself, let's figure out what went wrong so we can fix it and build on it. So it's really important to involve other people in the process, but at the same time, help them understand that you don't want them to be calling the shots for you. They want you to be, you want them to be a sounding board to help you really understand the issues. So you're not deluding yourself. So you're not pretending to be, you're going to be a hockey player when you haven't got the physical strength. So it's a case of really understanding who we are, what we're all about. The age-old wisdom: know thyself and to thine own self be true. And that's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah, great, great, Larry. And before we wrap up, um, in your decades of experience, what role does self awareness play in achieving transformation? And how can someone cultivate deeper self awareness as they navigate through that journey toward their goals?
Wow. Um, I think we have to go back to basics. Self-awareness is more than just our body and more than just our mind. It's also our spirit or our soul. So we really have to it's really a good idea to integrate body, mind, and spirit into all of the decision making, because it's all there. It's all there. When we make decisions, our mind is telling us one thing, and maybe our intuition is saying, no, no, don't go there, don't go there. And our spirit or soul is saying something entirely different. So I think it's important to bring all three components into it. Unfortunately, a lot of people have trouble with spirituality. They have trouble with organized religion, and because they have trouble with organized religion, they dismiss the concept of spirituality. The universe is there. The universe unfolds. The universe does good things with us. So, put the issues of organized religion aside and take a look at the value of the universe, the value of spirituality, and make it a holistic approach rather than just letting your mind think it through, because our mind wants to protect us. The ego wants to protect us from any harm or any problems. So we do that, we're not going to grow. So it requires all three, the holistic approach. I'm very intuitive. I had the Myers-Briggs assessment done, and I'm really high on the intuitive scale. So I really trust my intuition. And if my intuition says no, I don't go. And if my intuition says yes, I'm all in. So it's a case, again, it's knowing the elements of our body and how to apply each of the three elements for the most effect.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Lovely, lovely, Larry. Thank you. Thank you so much for this profound and really inspiring conversation, sharing your wisdom, your experiences, some beautiful examples to help our listeners, understand with more clarity, and also the actionable insights you shared with us. So, if our listeners they wish to connect with you and also explore all the knowledge and wisdom you are sharing about personal transformation, how they can do that.
There's really two places. One is LinkedIn. I have a very, very strong LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is the only social media platform that I'm on, and there's several hundred articles there and contact information. Also, my website, larryeasto.com. And early 2025, I'm releasing a new video program called Your Transformation Connection: How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. And this is a 14 lesson program that takes people from concern about change through 12 lessons into continuing to learn, continuing to improve, all that kind of thing. It covers much of the things we've talked about. And it's interesting because as we record this, I'm just putting the finishing touches on the program. So it's very timely, very, very timely. So it's there. And by the time when people are here listening to this, there will be other items on my website that they can find helpful. Part of my business is helping self-employed professionals succeed in their business, and that's where the mindfulness came from, really. And so there's items on there that people might like, but there's going to be other goodies coming along as I create them and as I develop them. And think, oh yeah, this would fit, or oh, we could do this, or oh, we can do the other stuff. Just LinkedIn and my website, they're the two best.
Great, great. Really, really exciting. Really excited for your work. Thank you. Thank you, Larry. And we'll have all the details in the show notes for our listeners to easily connect with you and explore about your work. And to our listeners, thank you to everyone for tuning into this episode. We clearly saw transformation. It's a journey. It starts with a single step, and with tools like experiential learning and a bit of self reflection, self awareness, the path becomes clearer. If you are feeling inspired, don't forget to check out Larry's books, ebooks, and courses, and his upcoming course next year for more valuable guidance. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Please leave a review if you found this episode insightful. Share it with a friend, your loved one, or colleague, or anyone. And subscribe for more thought provoking conversations like this. Until next time, this is your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.